Thank you all for being here. We haven't had this many people here since we had recognitions. Wow. And we don't even have any of those on our agenda today. We appreciate you all being here. It is Thursday, the 6th of October, 2022. It is 5:30, and we are at the boardroom on Legacy Campus. We will begin with roll call, starting with Jared.
Jared Black, Business Administrator.
Jeff Nielsen, Board Member.
Chris Corcoran, Board Member.
Kathy Christiansen, Board Member.
Terry Rhodes, Board Member.
Steve Norton, Superintendent.
Randall Bagley, Board Member.
Larry Jepson, Board Member.
And Roger Pulsifer, Board Member, is excused.
Do you want me to do the pledge?
Nope. Okay. And our pledge and mission statement this evening will be led by Randall Bagley. All arise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission is to educate students for success in a changing world.
Thank you, Randall. Next up on our agenda, we have public input. And our Cache County Board of Education welcomes public input from district patrons during our board meetings. Feedback is an important part of being responsive to the public, we believe. While the school board is unable to respond to public input during a board meeting, district administrators are available after the public input period to hear additional feedback and respond to questions in a conference room adjacent to this boardroom. Board meetings are recorded and comments are part of the public record. During the public comments period, the following guidelines apply. Number 1, participants must sign up prior to the public input period using the clipboard at the back of the room, which I now have. Number 2, each speaker is provided 3 minutes to address the board. Number 3, board members will not directly respond to comments or answer questions during the public input period. And number 4, during public input, speakers are asked not to address personnel issues. Those are prohibited, whether regarding students or employees. Number 5, speakers are asked to be respectful. Patrons are always welcome to submit written feedback directly to the superintendent or any board members. And so on our sign-up list, we have Jennifer Painter, you're up. Please come.
Actually go first. She'd like to go first, and I'll follow her. She's Brooklyn Painter.
Sure, Brooklyn Painter. Please come to the microphone up here and speak into the microphone so that your comments can be recorded.
Okay, thank you. I am Brooklyn Painter. I'm in 8th grade and attending South Cache. And in my English class, we're giving a series of short stories to read and discuss them. The following titles are the stories of the main idea. Ruthless, a story of a man intends to kill someone by poisoning them because they stole a couple of dollars of whiskey. In the end, he ends up killing himself or drinking the poison alcohol. The second story is Button Button. When a man shows up at the main character's doorstep, he offers her $50,000, and all she has to do is kill someone that she doesn't know. In the end, she presses the button, and her husband ends up being the one dying. The next story is Lamb to the Slaughter. A loving, gentle wife who is pregnant is greeted by her husband, who informs her he is leaving her. She is dazed and confused, but snaps out of it and decides to make him a farewell dinner. She gets a frozen leg of lamb and beats him to death. She feigns sadness and sorrow, but in the end she laughs hysterically over the loss of her husband. The last and final story is A Lather and Nothing Else, which describes the main character's inner battle on whether to kill a man who, I quote from the story, was a man of good imagination. After all, it hadn't occurred to anyone before him to string up the rebels naked and use various parts of their bodies for target practice. Another quote from the same story is, I could cut his net like this, jab, jab. I wouldn't give him any time to protest, and since his eyes are closed, he wouldn't see the glint of my blade or the glint in my eyes. It later goes on to say, from the neck, a torrent of blood would spurt onto the sheet, onto the chair, onto my hands, and onto the floor. And the blood would be flowing along the floor, warm, inevitable, uncontainable, out on the street like a thin scarlet stream. I'm sure that a hard jab, a deep incision, would be painless. He wouldn't suffer. And what would I do with the body? Where could I hide it? End quote. This is teaching us students to think like murderers. No wonder there's been an 800% increase in school shootings in the last decade. My English teacher and principal pity me, saying, I'm sorry you felt uncomfortable in the classroom. My answer is, then will you please do something about it? Will you please stop teaching these stories? Please take a stand and help us get this type of material out of our schools.
Thank you, Brooklyn. Next up is Jennifer Painter.
In the story Brooklyn just referred to, titled Lather and Nothing Else, it ends with the following. So which is it, murder or hero? My destiny hinges on the blade of this razor. I can push down a little more on my hand, lean like silk, like rubber, like sheepskin. There is nothing more tender than a man's skin, and the blood is always there, ready to flow. A razor like this does not let you down. It's my best razor. So which is it, murder or hero? That girl right there is the hero. Because she had the courage to let me know what's going on in her English class. I emailed every single one of you, including the superintendent. I got one reply. Thank you for replying to me. I sent 3 emails. Nothing. Not even a recognition. We as taxpayers and voters voted for you, and I hope that you'll take the time to really listen to my daughter and I as we share some of our thoughts. It was this question that really bothered my daughter. She said, Mom, do you think it's better to slit the guy's throat, or do you think I should let him off and then he'll go kill other people? The question, I said, you don't have to answer that. And she goes, yes, I do. That's the question in our assignment. Is he a hero or is he a murderer? It was at this moment I knew I had to take a stand and speak up. So when Brooklyn's teacher said, well, you're the first one to ever come to me and complain about these stories. These stories have been approved and are being used throughout Utah and all the districts and all over the United States. I replied, well, just because it's been approved doesn't mean it's appropriate. I met with someone in your district who was over the curriculum. I asked, who approved this? She said, I did. I said, what were your thoughts on the story? She then said, I approved this material, but I didn't read it before I approved it. My assistant did. I have reached out to the principal at South Cache, who has reassured me, as well as this lady, that this information is being reviewed. This was over a week and a half ago. I have followed up asking many of you, as well as the principal and other individuals in the district, what is being done? Who is in charge of the review? We don't know. When will the review take place? We don't know. How long will the review take? We don't know. As a parent, it's just a little frustrating when we have things like this, and I hope that you will think, would I want my children reading information like this? I'm an advanced EMT for Cache County. I've been on many suicide calls for our teens and adults. I believe it's this type of information that we are feeding our kids that are adding to their depression. Utah has one of the highest suicide rates in the nation for our youth. I know you can do something about this. We have precious, innocent children and many children who have horrible home lives.
Time is up if you can wrap up your comments, please.
And so I just plead with you, please help us get this material out of the schools and let's give them something better to read. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Painter. Brooklyn or Jennifer, do you want to speak with the district administrator?
I would love to. I've asked him for a week and a half, and I would definitely love an appointment. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to step out and speak with one now?
Absolutely. I would love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Moving on in our agenda, next up we have the action agenda for policy adoption and retirement. And this will be presented again by Alden Jack.
Hi, I'm Alden Jack. I'm the Director of Educational Equity and Inclusion. And a few weeks ago, we submitted a proposal for some revisions that combined two existing policies and added some additional information to clarify constitutional freedoms in the public schools. And so the proposal would be to approve that submitted draft and also to retire the other two policies that are now incorporated into the new revision. I wonder if you have any other questions for me about the draft proposal.
Anyone? All right. Okay. Thank you, Alden, and thanks for being here and for all your work. I know this has, can't even guess how many hours this has taken you. We appreciate your work. So I will take a motion on this action.
I move that we accept the new policy, adoption, and the retirement of the old policies.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the recognizing constitutional freedoms in the public schools and retire controversial classroom discussions and religious neutrality. And so we will, it's been moved and seconded, we will vote electronically.
Voting is closed, and the motion to approve the recognizing constitutional freedoms in public schools policy and also to retire the religious neutrality and controversial classroom discussions policies passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Alden, you can move forward with having adding that recognizing constitutional freedoms in the public schools policy. Will you get with Jenda and have it formatted appropriately for to match the rest of them? Thank you. Next up, we have our reports agenda. And first, we have LEA specific license approval presented by Brittany Foster.
All right, each year we have a few employees that we request an LEA-specific license for one reason or another. And we have a list. Do you have a copy of the spreadsheet there? Mm-hmm. All right, so we have a handful of educators, about, I need reading glasses, 38 people, that we're requesting either a full LEA license or an LEA endorsement, meaning they're not teaching, they might be licensed already, but don't have an endorsement for what they're teaching. Do you have any questions about why we would need licenses for any of them, or questions on the process?
Part of the list, the bottom part of the list, 8 or 10 people are crossed out. What does that mean?
We cross them out because some of them are DLI, and if they come to teach DLI and they complete the background check, then they will be granted a license through the state. And so those few that were DLI just finished up their background checks. So we crossed them off the list. And then there are some SLPs that are on there and some SPED that are on there, and they are not eligible for LEA licenses. So we ended up crossing them off the list as well.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for Brittany? All right. So I assume that we'll be approving this list. You'll ask for approval in the next meeting?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Cache High School School Land Trust Amendment. Presented by Principal Cherie Hansen.
Tim and my colleagues have asked me to take a long time, so John, here we go. Trust lands. Thanks so much for supporting the Trust Land program. It really does make a difference at Cache High. This year, we're just asking for 2 short amendments. One, normally we hire a Vista, and no one applied this year. And so we didn't get a Vista, but would like to take that funding, $7,050, and pay for a parapro to do the job that a Vista would have. And the second one is to add carryover to goal number 1 for a certified teacher to develop curriculum for reading and vocabulary. Do you have questions?
Any questions? Can you find a paraprofessional?
We've got one.
Okay.
Yes, she's
that's
hired.
Right. I met her.
I was going to say.
Okay. All right. That's too bad that the Vista program is, wow.
Yeah, but I've told them that we want one next year. I mean, I'm hoping it's just kind of a COVID, lack of waitress, the whole thing across the nation. But you're right. Vistas are critical.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have club applications from Mountain Crest High School, presented by Bardette Bagley.
Yes, we have a club application for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I believe you all received the application. Are there any questions that you have for me?
The address for contact information is in Kansas City. What does that mean?
It's actually a national organization, and there's chapters in I think most all states. There's a Joshua Longoria is the state head in Utah, and we can get some information about him.
How do you see this working as a club at Mountain Crest?
They're looking for just kind of a place to meet. It says about every other week, just for an opportunity to be together in a non-denominational way, talk about teamwork and leadership and ways that they can serve their community and the teams that they participate in.
So it's kind of a multi-denominational
Yeah,
Christian?
absolutely. Yeah, it's a non-denominational Christian group. So, yeah.
Anyone else have questions?
No, I mean, this fellowship has been around for a long time on a lot of college campuses and high school campuses.
Yeah.
Pretty well established.
Yeah. And I think a couple of other schools have the same application coming, so yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bardette.
Thank you.
Next up, we have club applications for Ridgeline High School, presented by, you don't even look like Deanna. I'm sorry to tell you this, but she's a lot more beautiful than you.
She is up in the hospital about to be a grandma for the first time.
Oh, hooray.
So she hurried and emailed me this, so I won't be as up to speed. But she did say she needs to remove one of the clubs from the list because they didn't get an advisor, the Smoothie Club. Kind of disappointing. I was looking forward to that, but so that one we'll try to get on board another time.
Okay.
Right now there's one potential member, so hopefully that'll give them time to recruit.
Okay.
Maybe two, but anyway. So I
Anyone
did print
have
them off, so if you have any questions, I can.
I did, but the smoothie club gone now. I no longer have any questions.
Because the question is always, why would you put spinach in a smoothie? And I can't answer that. But people do.
If you put spinach in, you have to put something of equal strong color that looks better. if you don't like drinking something green.
That's right. That's a heavy lift.
Are you listening, Jared?
They're a lot better than you think, Superintendent.
Well, too bad. No smoothie club at Ridgeline. All right. Well, we'll look forward to, in 2 weeks, seeing Deanna here, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next up, we have club applications for Green Canyon High School, presented by not Jim. At least you have a lot more hair than Jim.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm glad you noticed that. We have several different applications in. You can see the list there in front of you. I'm happy to go through them or answer any questions that you have of any of them. One is the Beekeepers Club, and no, we're not having bees on campus. They just want to learn about beekeeping, and Birds Aren't Real, where they discuss just topics, things like that. A bread club. I really want to attend that one.
Me too.
It sounds good. Kind of like the smoothie one, but I don't see it on my list here. Fellowship Christian Athletes, the filmmaking, Mental Health Awareness Club, and the Secret Society of Pseudonyms, and I'm having a hard time reading this. It's really small.
Water polo.
Water polo. Thank you. Any questions on any of those clubs?
Well, Tim and I were at the North Council PTA meeting, and the council president asked me to explain why we would approve a Birds Aren't Real club in a high school.
Well, everybody has their opinions of what to discuss and study and talk about. So they're entitled to theirs as well, I think. So
I think it was the first time she'd ever looked at an agenda for a school board meeting.
I had to ask the kids that were proposing this. I said, "You got to educate me." And I said, "Is this like you guys made it up?" And they said, "No, it's actually they're around. They're all over. It's a United States wide thing." So.
And you didn't know about that one?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do know about that.
I've heard about that.
About that, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's ironic,
Yes.
Terry. So.
All right. Got it. All right. Any questions for Principal John?
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank you. Yes, you are staying here. Because next up is the Green Canyon proposed school land trust amendment.
Okay. Well, being new to a building always presents itself with some unique opportunities. And one of them was coming in and looking at the trust land plan that we had in place and trying to figure out what do we do with the carryover that we had. And I can't explain that. You'd have to ask Dave about that. But we had some carryover, fairly significant amount. And we found that there were a couple other needs. For example, those that were listed in red, I don't know if you got a color copy, but pretty much 8 through 15 are specifically to help LIA and ELL, and I think there was a little something for special ed as well in there.
Tell me LIA.
Latinos in Action Club.
Okay, got it.
Which a lot of the kids are in the same group, and great organization. Provides leadership opportunities and service opportunities, and just a fantastic group. Anyways, we put that money to help these organizations primarily, which addresses our goals in working with our EL population. So we felt that was an appropriate place to focus the bulk of that money there. Any questions on any of that?
Did you say the money is left over from last year that you're using?
Yes, that's all part of this, yeah.
Okay.
That's all in there. Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of question marks after the purchase computer device for SPED.
Oh, yes.
Is that...
I couldn't remember the code number there at the time, and
Okay.
and Emily or somebody says, I need that. I said, okay, here you go. But I think we got that hammered out.
Okay.
It's
I just wondered if that meant...
It's like 6710 or something. I don't know
you
what
have
it is.
that much money left and you'll get it, or
No,
or you might
no.
not.
It just is the code number,
All
the
right.
budget code number. So
Awesome. Anyone else have questions? Did you know about this one too, Chris?
Now you're being sarcastic.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming. Next up, we have Skyview. Presented by Skyview High School Club applications. Presented by.
Not Emily. I don't know if she was originally
There's
on there,
no
but-
one listed.
Oh.
It's blank, so you
Well,
could.
I get to be the blank guy then.
Where it could come.
Well, I'm hoping Chris knows about this one as well, because we have one new club application this year for a SCP club. You know about that one, Chris?
Yeah, well, no, only what I've read. And
Okay.
Agenda, yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of intrigued, so I was hoping you.
Yeah, I learned a lot. It stands for Special Containment Procedures, and it's basically a gaming type club that goes on to. There's SCP websites out there, and it's for lack of better words, I think it's the 2020 versions of the old Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's science fiction, and they basically tell you how to protect yourself and control supernatural, paranormal, those kind of things. I remember back in the day, Skyview, it's been a while, but we used to have a Sasquatch club, so I don't know if this is just the modernized version of our Sasquatch club, so who knows. But basically it'd be a group of kids coming together. They've got an advisor, and they go through the website, and it's a fictitious organization, basically. So.
All right. Anyone have questions?
How does that fit in with? It's a collaborative writing group.
So they actually use, the website offers what they call wikis, I think, and those are kind of a simplified version of people submitting written documentation and fantasy stories, and yeah, so it's like a whole make-believe world of this paranormal stuff. So they do a lot of writing from what I hear. So I don't think it'll be a big club, but I think we'll see. The one contingency obviously is whatever they do online, they have to follow all protocols and policies of the district for appropriate computer usage. So.
Does that mean that whenever they meet, it will be on school premises, school servers?
I don't know if that'll be the only time they meet, but their plans are to meet like after school. But I wouldn't be surprised if they meet after, somewhere else. But they'd like to be able to meet on school grounds or find other kids that are interested in it. So.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? All right. Thank you,
You're
Principal
welcome.
Jones. Oh, you're up next too. Next on the agenda, we have the Skyview School Land Trust Amendment Plan.
Yeah. So kind of same thing when we got on. We actually had some difficulty getting onto our school trust land. We had to have Paula Plant get me a login that we had tried 2 or 3 times and just didn't work. And so finally she got that in a couple weeks ago. But with our trust land and being a new principal taking over in July, there were some things that were written in the last year's trust land plan that probably some things that needed to have direction or follow through with the previous administration over the summer to prepare for this school year. That at this point there's no way to do that, and to be honest with you, not sure that would be part of my direction for with our administration. So what we're looking at doing is we had the same thing. We had a vista that was written in there for goal number 1, I believe, that we've taken out. And so we've rewritten our goal number 1, and we've combined goal number 2 and goal number 3. This is probably the most difficult plan to write, only because you do it so early in the spring, and they ask you to use data that you do not get until the following fall. So it's kind of tough knowing where you're going to spend the money and everything. So our biggest, so what we're looking is focusing on our school report card and the measures that the school report card gives, because those are ones that exist that we can look at and have access to. One of the things we will be doing is coming up with a Skyview data plan similar to what we had at Green Canyon, so that we have a little more data to look at and set goals and things like that. So, but right now we're using just the school. The state's school report card and the data that they use. A lot of our money has been redirected, or would like to be redirected, to lowering some class sizes, doing some focus on ELL and SPED classes with some team talk classes. So, and those typically have to be smaller enrollment within those classes. And so we're increasing our trust lands. We thought we'd have a few more students as well, but Jared did a real good job of predicting where we were going to be. I think we were within 4 or 7 kids. So for the plans we have, we needed to increase our FTE allotment through our trust lands.
Does Jared, how does he do that? Does he have a magic crystal ball?
It was pretty close. Yeah, the last couple of years, we knew growths happen and things like that, but in the past, our October 1s allowed us to get additional FTEs, but sometimes they're difficult to use come October. So we made planning on getting to some, and that's where we're at, but we didn't get additional ones. So, awesome. But we have the classes we want. We added, once I got hired, we added a Latinos in Action class and a CTE leadership class, focusing on student leaders and that direction. So.
All right.
Can you tell me, what is Panorama?
So Panorama is a brand new data management program that the district has purchased. We used it a little bit at Green Canyon with our Wolfpack Academy classes, but basically it's got the ability to measure social emotional learning. But what they do in the data part of this is they actually combine a bunch of different data points. So, in fact, we were just looking at it today. The counselors, we said, hey, how many ELL kids do we have in the 9th grade struggling with grades and attendance? And so you can put that in there, and it allows you to go get a bunch of different data points. And it focuses around attendance, grades, social emotional learning, and behavior, which would be some incidences. So, and it's pretty helpful to be able to go, give me the kids who are showing up struggling versus the kids who are not showing up that we know need a different intervention. And so that's going to help us a bunch. But it just got introduced to us at the beginning of this year.
Okay,
so.
Thank you.
Great. And that was implemented district-wide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at least secondary.
Okay. All right.
Anything middle school on that one? They might be in there. They might be in the middle school as well. So, middle and high school.
Secondary?
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to spend some time getting better at. But it's very helpful. So
it's a data tool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So one more question. Just
yeah.
This is my
no,
curiosity.
You're good.
How does that program get the social emotional?
So that's the part that we haven't got in there yet, but there's actually, when we piloted it a couple of years ago, just trying, a lot of it's a self-assessment from the students, so the students will rate themselves, and they usually, if I remember right, you try to do it at the beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of year, because it's really a growth check, but it is students answering questions about their own behaviors, how do you prescribe to the growth mindset? How do you feel like you've done with relationships? And it is around the big 5 that the I should know the website or the big social emotional learning CASEL, the CASEL website that's come up with the standards for social emotional learning.
Does every student do it?
So every student could do it. Right now, the only thing we are doing is behavior, attendance, and grades. And so then we'd have to have a place in there that you could do it for every student. You could do it just for freshmen. You could do it for 30 kids. If you wanted to monitor just a certain cohort of kids, you could do it that way as well.
Did you say it goes down to the middle schools?
I believe so.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah. You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else have a question? Okay. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you.
Next up, we have board member reports. And Emily has put the sign-up sheet for...
The monthly board appreciation notes.
The other, she's given us a copy of that, but she emailed it to us as well. So make sure you sign up for that online.
I'm talking about something different.
Right. And then the monthly board appreciation assignments to write a short message monthly is printed on there. If you look at that, does anyone see any problems with the month you're assigned?
So this is the same schedule we've had for 2 years now. So it's the same month that you've always had, except that I've usually done one in October and then one in May. And so I took my name off of May. Would someone else like to do a second one? Or do you think there's a month we don't need to have one of these and we could move someone into May? Just any feedback on this? Or we could not do one in May, which would be fine too.
I can do May.
You'll do May? Yeah. Okay.
Why not Roger? I mean, he's not here.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Way to throw him under the bus. Anyone else have reports? Jeff, the hot topic is realignment, you know.
It is.
Any news?
It's heating up. So we start in November.
Okay.
Yep.
So
start, you mean making decisions is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we'll ask again in November?
Yeah, I spent Tuesday down there with in the hearings, you know, when people come and petition for exceptions to the rules. So that was a very interesting day. But anyway, a lot of good things happening. So.
Okay, great. Anyone else have a report? Okay. Next up on the agenda is the board president report, and I will report that we have a committee that Tim Smith is heading up to create a portrait of a graduate for our school district specifically, rather than adopting the state one, which is like 36 pages. How long is that, Alden? 36 pages? Anyway, we're trying to fit ours on one page.
Excellent.
Front and back. And also, Larry wanted me to let you know that our good friend Preston passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and his funeral was Monday?
Yes.
Preston Kirk from George K. Baum.
We didn't know anything in time.
Yeah.
But we'll follow up with some to his wife.
And so that was a sad thing to hear, but we felt like that everyone would want to know. And also that Deloy Hansen's mother passed away. Her Belva Hansen, who has been a great public education champion as well as language arts teacher. And her obituary can be found online. Moving on, we have our superintendent report.
And excuse me, I'm just going to reiterate what I said last night for the board members that weren't there. Utah has quite a history with giving grades to schools, and it's been very difficult to be fair in assessing what really happens in our high schools and elementary schools, middle schools. And basically we've settled on a model that we look at achievement and we look at growth. So if you have schools with low-performing students, if you can show that you have good growth in those schools, that weighs heavily on what kind of grades you get. If you're a high-achieving school and haven't got much room for growth, you get rewarded for your achievement, but you get dinged a little bit on providing growth. So it's not a perfect system, but the grades are out for preview of people in district office, and I can just tell you that when the grades come out, you're going to be pleased with how our district performed. And there are a couple of schools that did major turnarounds. And that's a direct reflection on the principals and teachers in that building. And you'll notice that when you see the scores. It's not a perfect system, but it does try to give the public some idea of what's going on in the school that they send their kids to. So that'll be coming out shortly. Great school start. I think we have had an excellent beginning to the school year. It goes quickly. We were talking about heat not long ago, and now we're wondering if all the boilers will fire up. But it takes a lot of effort to open up schools and school districts, and I've always said I like the start and stop of our profession. We have that every year, so you can get that feeling every year of this is going to be the best year yet. And this could be the best year yet. So we'll just wait and see.
All right. Thank you very much. At this point, we will adjourn temporarily until 6:30, when we will enter a closed session and we'll vote on. So let's vote on temporary adjournment. Larry, by roll call.
Yes.
Randall?
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah, I don't vote, but yes, I'm.
Yes.
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 Okay. We'll adjourn until 6:30, when we will enter into a closed session. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you being here.